Hello and welcome once again to The Big Picture, a show that gives you news, views, and controversial commentary on the issues of the day. I'm your host, Theodore McClendon, Theo the Thinker from McClendonReport.com, sending a shout out to my business partner, Gerard McClendon. Godspeed. Controversial subjects is something that we're becoming very used to here. And to handle those controversial subjects, we have my friend and colleague and partner and just all around great person, Dr. Rachael L. Ross is back in the house, folks.
Always a pleasure to be here.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Now, this is a show that I think a lot of you folks are going to find very interesting. And as a matter of fact, right now, bring the kids in. And kids, if you're already in there, bring the adults in. Bring the family in. Because we're going to tackle a subject that a lot of people fear to tackle. It's an area where people fear to tread, yet the media is so full of innuendo and suggestion of this subject. And I speak now of the subject of sex, okay? We have our resident sexpert here who has all the sexpertise. Certified sexologist, or will be soon. We have Dr. Rachael Ross from drrachelross.com. We're going to get into this subject, my friend.
That's good. It's an important topic.
Yes, it is, and you've been telling me for a long time that we ought to go ahead and tackle this, and you pretty much allayed my fears about this thing and said, look, we got to go with it because the media is full of it, yet the media doesn't give ample explanation and doesn't help people have a better understanding of sexuality, especially for the preteens. I speak, and I'll let you really get started here, but I'm speaking mainly about music videos that are replete with suggestive sexuality. Every other scene is a woman, you know, that's half naked, in many cases more than half naked. There's the big daddy image of the man with a harem of women. There are all these images that are shot out to our children that on the one hand it's entertainment, but on the other there's no explanation to back that up. There's no one is really just stopping you and say, well, this is not necessarily how you want to behave.
Right.
This is just a rap star. This is just an R&B singer or what have you. Now, we see it so much in media. And from our discussions, because we talked we talk at length on the subject.
That's right.
Because I wanted to really see where Rachael was coming from. And you said that it's important for you to address this problem where it is with the youngsters because they don't want to hear a stodgy old sex expert talk about the birds and the bees. They need someone who's young, who's hip, who's with it, who understands their needs. Moreover, though, who understands those lyrics that are shot at them every day on the radio. You want to just kind of lead us into this subject and then we'll just take it wherever you want to go.
Okay, yeah, no, that's exactly right. It's, you know, television, the media, music has overt sexuality, but there's no counterbalance to it. So kids aren't really learning what they should be learning in schools because a lot of government programs and a lot of sex education programs are abstinence-based programs. Now, I'm a huge proponent of abstinence, and I wish that our young people would wait until they were married or would wait until they were older, but the reality of the situation is that they're not. And until parents sit down and realize that, yes, their young girls are doing these things and their young girls are having these orgy parties and, you know, when they really sit down and talk to young people about what's going on, it's really out of control. And the parents are kind of sitting back and they're like, oh, okay, well, I have a nice job and my kids are okay and everything's fine. But what they're not realizing is that they're engaged in very risky sexual behavior. So drrachel.com is an attempt to take sexual information and give it to them exactly how they need it and in a way that they can understand it. And what it does is it tricks them through entertainment. Like, you know, they can come online and look at LL Cool J, give an interview. They can look at
and holding
Russell
his crotch,
Simmons.
I might add.
Yeah, well, you know, see, the thing is here, we can't have just one or the other. You can't have education without some form of entertainment, without making it somewhat sexy, because the people won't be entertained by it, so they won't read it. What you have to understand is that...
Case in point. Since my brother, the great host, is gone for a little while here, you help us with the ratings with your very appearance. But you did go to school, though, didn't you?
Yeah,
Okay.
a bunch of,
And that's
for
a bonus
of
then.
years. Exactly.
But go
so
ahead,
it's all packaging, you
Right.
know, especially this young generation. They're used to watching MTV and BET and videos and fast-paced action. If you come to them with, this is what you should do if you are having sex, you should wear a condom, they're really not going to listen to it. And, you know, there's this huge divide between young people and their parents, young people and their teachers. And so anything that they say is bouncing off of them. Like if their mom tells them, well, you know, I think you should wait to have sex, instead of taking that and internalizing it, the young girls are like, Mom is old. She doesn't know what she's talking about. So drrachel.com takes the information and brings it to them in a way that they can appreciate, that they can understand, and that they can take something away from it. Because the reality is, we want them to abstain from sex, but the reality is that they are not. And more each year, they're starting younger. They're starting at 12 and 13 and 9. And so if they're not equipped with this type of information, one, they're going to end up with an STD. Two, they're going to end up with HIV, and they're going to end up wiping themselves off of the face of the planet. So when I came up with the concept, it was basically to do my part at eradicating HIV in the community. Because when you look at the statistics of it, like the CDC did a study of Job Corps entrants, and what they did is they did a survey between kids ages 16 to 21. What they did is they pooled them. They said black men, white women. Well, black women were 7 times more likely in this age group, 16 to 21, to have HIV than their white counterparts, and black men were 4 times more likely to have HIV than their white counterparts.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so
those are staggering numbers.
Those are staggering numbers. And out of all the people who were diagnosed with HIV last year, 67% of them were young black girls. So when you look at these statistics, and you look at what's going on in the community, you realize that education isn't getting out there. So you sit and you look, and they've developed these things they call risk factors for STDs and HIV. One is poverty, one is denial, one is sleeping with a partner who's at risk, one is substance abuse, and one is already having an STD. Mm-hmm. So when you look at the big part of our community, a lot of them are at risk for these types of things. And so when you go down south, there's clusters of black communities where it's as bad in our community as it is in some parts of Africa.
Is that so?
Exactly. And what you have to understand is that there is no quicker way to wipe out somebody than to attach something to a sexual activity, okay? Because sex deals with delayed gratification. You know, kids have to learn how to delay gratification, to wait, say, no, we have to use a condom, to have the self-esteem necessary to say, I don't care if you don't want to use one. If you don't want to use one, we are not going to have sex. So drrachel.com, besides it giving overt sexual information, it also gives advice. Mm-hmm. It also tells the young girls, you know, it is not appropriate to go over a man's house at midnight. Right. You know, if you do that, he's going to think that you're coming over to have sex with him. Whether you want to watch TV or not, you have to deal with what's going on in someone else's mind. You know? Indeed. And it is not appropriate to sleep with someone the first day you meet them or the first week. You know, so through trying to bring the kids in, through entertaining them, we're under the assumption that while they're there, they're going to pick up some very important information. They're going to learn how to protect themselves from different STDs, from getting HIVs, and we might even convince them to wait. Because more than likely, you know, teenagers, they go through life, they meet someone they like, they sleep with them, that relationship doesn't work out. 2 months later, they meet someone else. By the end of the year, they've slept with 5 different people. Right. You know, and so the years build up. And so they sit down and they look back, and they're not considering themselves a slut or anything like that. They're like, I don't sleep with that many people. And then when they really get and sit down and write the numbers out, then they're surprised to see how many they really slept with.
And plus, as on a very early show, we talked about how it's an exponential figure that, you know, when you sleep with one person, you're sleeping with everybody they've slept with and everybody they've slept with on down the line.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And the media has taken the relationship out of sex, you know, and as an older adult, I'm very keen on the sense that sex is about the relationship. You know, you cannot have sex without a relationship. So young people are just kind of randomly having sex with each other. You know, maybe if I have sex with you, you'll buy me some gym shoes, or maybe if I have sex with you, I'll be cool. You know, and they have gotten away from understanding that this was something that was designed to procreate. It was not something that was designed to, you know, bring you a bunch of pleasure.
Right.
So now that we're here in the year 2003, and all of the image are saying sex, sex, everything's sexy, you should be having sex, you should be having sex, we need to come back away from that. Teach the kids what's really going on when you're having sex with someone. Teach them how important their bodies are and that they should not just be dumping it off to different people here and here and there. And then letting them know that, okay, if you are making that decision to do that, then here's the information that you need to do to protect yourself. You know, here are some guidelines. Because there's no such thing anymore as safe sex.
No.
There's safer sex, and there's what I call safe-less sex. Because, you know, when you are having sex with someone and you have decided not to use a condom or a barrier or something like that, you are putting your whole life in that other person's hands. You're saying, I trust that you don't have anything, I trust that you've been honest with me, and I trust that, you know, we're about to join and exchange bodily fluids, and that I'm not going to get anything from you. Now, what makes you think you should trust somebody that you just met? Or what makes you think that you should trust somebody that you have not gone with them to the doctor to learn from their doctor, from the doctor's mouth, that they don't have anything?
Right.
There's no reason to do that. And the only reason that you do something like that is that you don't care about yourself.
Right.
So we have to teach young people to think of themselves as the most important beings here, and then to adapt their behavior accordingly. So drrachel.com, you know, you log on, and it's got, you know, it's got LL Cool J there holding himself, and it's got, you know, click here to learn how to do such and such. But on first inspection, adults look at it and they're like, oh, this is porno, oh my gosh. But when they look at it, everything on there is educational. And it's put in terms that young people can understand. You know, young people don't understand technical terms like cunnilingus and fellatio. You know, we have to break it down and let them know what's really going on and how to protect themselves. Because, you know, STDs and HIV is multiplying at a staggering rate. They estimate that 1 in 4 teenage girls, by the time they're out of their teens, has an STD. Now that's too many.
Way too many.
That's way too many.
That's a staggering figure.
Right. So with a little education and with a little understanding, and if parents would stop shutting their kids out and opening the doors up, because they're listening to it in their music. Every third line in any song on any top 40 station has something to do with sex or something related to it. Every commercial, even the Herbal Essence Pantene commercial,
right.
You know, she's having an orgasm while she's washing her hair. You know, we're bombarded with sex in every single way, so we have to teach our kids how to handle it and how to deal with it. drrachel.com does a good job of trying to bring kids out from their stunted reality and understanding what's going on in their body and how they need to treat themselves in order to function properly.
It's obvious that you have a passion for this, and you've explained it very well just now. You have a deep fear of the perilousness of HIV and other STVs and STDs, and you haven't even mentioned teen pregnancy. I was on teenpregnancy.org the other day, and the figures are just astronomical on the level of teen pregnancy. They were going state by state, and blacks and Latinos were exchanging the lead for most pregnant teens per 1,000, and they were hovering between 140 to 200 girls pregnant per 1,000. And whites were right around 40 to 60, which is still too many for teenage unmarried girls to get pregnant. Right. But of course, those numbers are not, they're slightly skewed when you look at the white population, because many of them go and so quote unquote take care of the pregnancy by getting abortions,
right.
etc.
Traditionally, they're not as afraid to have abortions as black people and Hispanic people. But, you know, what you have to understand about that teen pregnancy rate, if you take that and every girl who ended up getting pregnant actually had sex with someone who had HIV or an STD, those numbers are staggering, because you know you don't get pregnant with condoms. So you know that each of those young girls...
Dr. Rachael, let me interrupt you right now. We're going to come back in a minute and really dive into this subject as if we haven't already done so. We'll be back on The Big Picture.